Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming today. We appreciate you being here. My name is Paul Rykoff. I'm the CEO and founder of IAVA, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. We are the first and largest VSO committed to the veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan. I served in the Army as an infantry platoon leader and started the group back in 2004. And we now stand at close to 200,000 members around the country and around the globe. Today we're going to talk to you about our 2013 policy agenda, a blueprint for how we believe this country can support our community. And we're also kicking off our 7th annual Storm the Hill. Storm the Hill is an advocacy and leadership development program that brings our members from around the country here to Washington. So all around you, we've got local leaders who have left their jobs, their schools, their families behind to be here to meet with members of Congress all week. We've got about 100 meetings already set up. We're also going to be meeting with the VA, the DOD, the White House, and if your boss is not on that list, please get with Tom Tarantino after this meeting and our legislative team, and we'll be sure to set something up, if not this week, in the coming weeks. The first slide that you see here just gives you a little bit about how the policy agenda comes up and how it comes together. I will start by telling you also, this is how we kicked off the fight for the new GI Bill years ago. This is how we kicked off the fight for advanced funding. This is how we kicked off the fight for the Vow to Hire Heroes Act. And it's definitely a team game, and all the VSOs work really well together. But this will give you an insight into what our generation, the younger generation, really sees as the most urgent issue. So when you think about this policy agenda, it's not just a checklist. It's really a blueprint for how everybody can get things done. And we don't just lay it out for Congress, but we lay it out for the private sector, for the executive branch, for philanthropy, because we believe that everybody's got to get involved. Washington can't do it alone. So throughout that document, you'll see these handy-dandy little icons that can indicate who we think can step up to address some of these issues. You know, the other thing I want to emphasize is that the stories are as important as these facts and figures and policy components you're going to see. Our veterans are really disconnected from the conversation in Washington too often. These young veterans are motivated. They come from all political backgrounds, all service branch backgrounds, and they want to tell their stories. They've gone so far as to bring some of them, their families with them. Ann Weeby's here, who brought her 6-week-old baby Asa. We've also got a service dog with us this week. We've got family members that are rooting at home, and we've also got a group that we're calling the Swarmers, which are community activists, local leaders who are activating on social media and in their communities to magnify the voice of our membership. So that's all going on this week, and we hope you'll work with us. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about how this process starts. We talk to our membership, we do a ton of policy research, we talk to the VSO community. As a technology-based organization, we're able to poll our membership. So we do a pretty in-depth poll on an annual basis, and then we do it on a regular basis to find out what our community sees as the most urgent needs. You'll see it's some of the things you've heard about in the past: mental health, VA funding, jobs, suicide prevention, protecting the GI Bill, and I'm going to let Tom go into the details a bit more. But the number one priority for us is going to be ending the VA claims backlog. Next slide, please. We believe that our veterans have fought for us, and they shouldn't have to fight for benefits. We know this is a fight that's been going on in Washington really before we got back from Iraq and Afghanistan. The older VSOs, the other VSOs have been pushing on this hard, but this is a year where our membership has really sounded off and said enough is enough. We need leadership to finally break the backlog, and that's going to be our number one priority until it's done. We hope that all members of Congress and everybody in this town will stand with us, and we won't let up till it gets done. Our goal is 0. And some folks say, oh, it's not going to happen, you know, be patient. That's what they told us about the GI Bill too. And we all worked together and we got it done. And we believe that if we work together and we're innovative and we're creative and we're disciplined, we can get this done as well. You've seen a lot of the facts in the news, but I just want to hit on a couple of key points. Almost 900,000 claims pending at the VA. The picture there, we think, you know, tells the real story. That's an actual VA processing center that had so many paper-based claims stacked up that they had to actually close the building. It was a health violation. That's where we are. 97% of claims are still on paper. The piece on the bottom gives you a bit of the geographic breakdown. So if you think about where your congressional district is, what state you represent, You can see that in places like Nevada, it's over, New York, sorry, it's over 600 days, LA 619, Chicago's 542. All this information is also available on our website. So this is going to be kind of a rapid fire briefing, but we'd encourage you to check out iava.org. You can see all this data. You can also meet our stormers. All their bios are there. They're going to be tweeting throughout the week so that they come into a meeting with your boss, they'll be sure to show them some love as soon as they come out and let them know that we appreciate how much you've got their back. A couple other key points is that we really believe that this is a predictable problem that the VA hasn't been able to solve. And we're really just focused on solutions. The backlog's gone up 2,000% in the last 4 years. 2,000%. And it's projected to go to 1 million within the next year. The next slide talks a little bit about what's happened in the past. You can see the trajectory of that backlog and where it's gone. They've also spent about $500 million developing a claims process system that our members are really not seeing the results of yet. So it's not just about more money. We know that. We know it's about accountability, and it's about oversight, and it's about leadership, and we hope that all the folks in Congress will stand with us on that. Another component that's been in the news, VA hired over 3,000 new claims processors, but they haven't retained enough, so it's really only a net increase of about 300 across the country. So I think what this shows also is that we can be a conduit to the local community. If you want to check on what's happening in your district, we've got this database of veterans that we can reach out to work with your offices and find out what we call the military, the ground truth, what's really happening on the ground. We know it's essential for folks here in Washington to be able to get that, especially from Iraq and Afghanistan veterans and their families. The big thing I just want to focus on is that this is an important time. We know that Iraq is over, Afghanistan's winding down, and we have a tremendous opportunity in the next few years to focus this country on our veterans. But that window is going to close. So we need you all to step up and stand with us, work on solutions, bipartisan solutions that can really impact the people around this room, all the folks who are going to be watching online, and all the folks around the country. So we believe that supporting our veterans is a nonpartisan issue, and now is the time to do it. So if anything, in a time where it doesn't seem like Washington can get much done, this might be the one thing we can all agree on and put some points on the board. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom Tarantino, and then you're going to hear from Zach, who's going to put a face on all the numbers. He's going to talk about the people behind the policies and why this is such an urgent issue. We're going to continue throughout the year to show the faces of the veterans who are stuck in this backlog. We think that's a really important point. You're going to see them on social media. You're going to see from veterans who are going to hold up signs that show you in plain terms how long they and their families have been waiting. That's what's really been missing from this discussion. We're going to ratchet that up until it gets done. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tom Tarantino.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you all for coming out and taking time out of your busy day. I know that there's a lot going on in Congress this week, so we really appreciate your time and attention. As Paul mentioned, I'm Tom Tarantino. I'm an Iraq vet, and I'm also the Chief Policy Officer for IAVA, which means I run the DC office. This has hit a crisis. This has hit a crisis level. The VA claims backlog has continued to grow. I've been working at this for about 5 years. Some of my friends in the VSO community have been working on this for 40, and it's not getting better. In the last 5 years, we keep hearing the VA say, well, we're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it. It's not getting better. And so what's clear is that the VA just can't do this on its own. And that's okay. What's clear is that we have to bring the brightest minds in this country to solve a problem that the VA can't solve by itself. That despite their best efforts, Congress still hasn't been able to force the VA to solve it. We need the President of the United States to step up and establish a presidential commission to end the backlog. This way, the smartest minds and the most out-of-the-box thinkers and the people from the private sector and the government sector and the veterans community can come together and figure out how to solve this problem. Because we're not talking about putting someone on Mars. We're talking about filing someone's disability claim so that veterans can get care. And so right now we are circulating a petition to end the VA claims backlog. And what we want is we want you to sign it. We want your boss to sign it. We want you to get your constituents to sign it. Because veterans are less, especially Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, are less than 1% of the population, and it is too easy to ignore the cries of the veterans who have been waiting 400, 500, 600 days just to get the care and benefits they earned while fighting for their country. Once this commission is over, however, our work isn't done. We have to make sure that the recommendations that come out of the commission can actually be implemented. And so if you're in the House, we're asking you to co-sponsor H.R. 813. And if you're in the Senate, we need a Senate version. What this does is this funds the VA 1 year in advance. In 2009, IAVA and the other VSOs led the fight to fund VA healthcare 1 year in advance. Why is this important? So that the VA has the predictability it needs to plan to reform. We did this for healthcare so that healthcare knows how much money they have 2 years out, so that they don't have to close hospitals when the budget's late. And it's pretty appropriate to talk about it this week, since we're looking at funding the rest of the government for 6 months only to go through this fight again in September. We can't let veterans be victims of the fact that Congress has not been able to pass a budget. So if we fund the entire VA 1 year in advance, it gives them the predictability they need to implement reform. So you can go to iava.org, you can sign the petition. By the time I'm sat up to this podium, it's likely 19,000 people have already signed it. We were only 20 away when I walked into this building. And so join the rest of this country and support this petition. That's actually not all we work on, though. Change slides. Right now, in the veterans community, we have also a suicide crisis. In the time that we're all going to be sitting here, one veteran will kill themselves in this country. That's 22 a day, and it's too many. With Congress's help, we have passed legislation in the last several years that is going to help improve the mental health care system and improve suicide prevention. But we need to help those who have fallen through the cracks. And there are about 30,000 veterans who didn't just fall through the cracks, they were pushed through. These are veterans who were discharged from the military with untreated and undiagnosed mental health injuries. They were either given a false diagnosis of a phony personality disorder, or they were treated as discipline cases. We need the DoD to go back and review those discharges, because every single one of those veterans is not eligible for VA care. And they're basically out there, they're on their own, they need care, and those are the most vulnerable. So in the House, we're asking you to sponsor H.R. 975. And we're expecting a Senate version by the end of the week. And we'll, if you contact myself, I will let you know when that bill drops. Next slide. We have been working on the GI Bill since before it was passed. And our work is not done. Right now, the GI Bill pays for a public in-state education, which means that you can go to any public school in the state in which you live. The problem is that not all veterans are considered residents or can establish residency in a state. Imagine you own a home in California because that's where you grew up or that's where you settled. You spend 2 years assigned to a base in Texas. You spend a year in Iraq. You come back, you spend another year in North Carolina. You go to Afghanistan for a year. You come back to Kentucky, and you do out your last year in the military, and you go back to where you grew up in California, only to be told that you can't go to the University of California because you're not a California resident. Or if you do, you're going to have to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket. This is unacceptable. No arbitrary state rule should stand between a veteran and their education. So H.R. 357 in the House and S. 257 in the Senate is very simple. If you're a school that accepts GI Bill money, you have to treat veterans as in-state residents. We pump $4.5 billion of taxpayer money into education every year. It's time that schools and states step up and support veterans. Next slide. Finally, we are still working on the jobs crisis. Although employment is getting better, unemployment for Iraq and Afghanistan veterans is still around 2 points higher than their civilian peers. There are two reasons for this. First of all, this is the first generation of business leaders that has largely not served in the military. And so while the private sector wants to hire vets, they don't understand the skills they bring. And veterans are also unprepared to go into the workforce because we don't transition them well enough. Now, with Congress's help, we've done things like pass the Vow to Hire Heroes Act, which made transition assistance mandatory. Last year, we helped expand transition assistance so that veterans can take it after they leave service so they can continue to get the job training they need. And although the transition assistance program is improving, everyone does it a little bit different. H.R. 631 will mandate every service does it the same, so that every veteran leaving the military gets education on the benefits, gets education on how to be successful in school, gets education on how to find a job, and has access to more in-depth training in starting your own business, looking for work, and being successful in higher education. If we set these men and women up for success, they will excel. And this is a very small amount of investment that we can do in not just their future, but the future of this generation of veterans. So, I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I'll turn it back over to Paul, who will talk to you about some of the faces of the problems that we're seeing.
Okay, thank you, Tom. A couple of quick thank yous, too. We want to thank Chairman Miller and his team. He's been a fantastic ally and a leader for veterans, helped us create this event here today, and we're looking forward to working with his office in the months and years ahead. And also Chairman Sanders, who we are really counting on to be off to a good start, and the entire team on the Senate side. One other piece of information, on Thursday, IAVA is going to be hosting a rally on Capitol Hill to demand an end to the backlog. We hope that you'll come with us, you'll stand with us, your bosses will come with us, everyone's welcome, and it's a very simple message: end the backlog. And that's something we believe all folks can stand behind. We've got a number of members of Congress who are already going to join us, and we hope everyone will stand as a united front and send a message to the President and to the country that it's time to end that backlog. One person who is stuck in that backlog right now, one of thousands, that are hundreds of thousands that are stuck in that backlog right now, is the man you're going to hear from. Zach McCallum is an Army vet from Indiana, and he served 2 combat tours, and his weight's not affecting just him, but his family. And our family members are often the unsung heroes of our work and of our community. So I'd ask you to please give a round of applause, because he's not a pro at this, and bring it up for our friend, IAVA Storeman Zach.
Pull those down here a little bit. I need a soapbox to stand on. I appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul, and everyone from IAVA for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak about this problem. Like I said, I'm Zach McElwain. I served 2 tours of duty in Iraq with the United States Army. When I decided to file several disability claims for injuries that I sustained, both physically and invisible injuries that I incurred while on the battlefield. I'm at day 978, and I'm still waiting. In one particular case, the VA lost paperwork that I had submitted, and as a subsequent event, they denied my claim. I'm currently in the process of appealing this claim, and I have the paperwork, but there's no one there to listen. It's been 3 years, and there's no one I can talk to in the VA that will listen and allow me to just hand this paperwork in. The long wait not only has had a toll on me, but it's had a toll on my family. Just the pressure and the turmoil that I've experienced has made my issues with post-traumatic stress disorder and other things worse. And it's one thing for it to affect me, but for it to affect my wife and everyone else that I care about, my family, I feel like sometimes I'm dragging them down with me. It's not all hopeless loss and everything, but thanks to IAVA's efforts and everything, I'm utilizing the post 9/11 GI Bill currently. I'm on path to earn a degree in economics. My wife's currently in law school, so despite all these positive moves in that direction, my life's currently on hold. I mean, I'm stuck in this position where we can't move forward until this is resolved. And so, despite me trying to do everything in my power and trying to be proactive, sometimes I feel like it's just never going to be resolved. And time and time again, I find myself in a position where I almost want to give up. But thanks to the love and support of my wife and everyone around me, fellow veterans, like what the IAVA does, they give you support to drive forward and push on. So, like I said before, it's day 978. 2.5 million Iraq and Afghanistan veterans are coming home, filing claims. They fought honorably over there. They did what they swore to do. And despite all of this, they have to come home and fight another war just to get the benefits that they were promised. So please help us, please help the IAVA, and help push this petition to end the backlog. Thank you.
So one thing IAVA promises to do is to keep our briefings short. Before we go to a couple questions, if you've got them, just want to bring your attention to the document that I have here. It's our policy agenda. It's out front. It's online. All the ideas in detail are laid out. And I just also want to mention there are other priorities for us, and one of them is improving the care and service for female veterans. It's an issue that IAVA is uniquely positioned to tackle as a next generation organization. About 15% of our national membership is female. Many of them are here this week, and it's a critical issue, not just for them, but for our entire membership, and we believe for our entire country. We also want to focus on ending veterans' homelessness and supporting military families. All here, all online. Please download it and spread the word. We're also going to post the video of this briefing online, so if you've got colleagues or if your boss wants to check it out, please encourage them to do so. Thanks to the power of the internet, this discussion will live on. But with that, I just want to turn it over to any other questions that folks might have before we wrap up. Y'all are going to make it easy. Yes, sir.
I'm Mike from Senator Murphy's office. My boss is really concerned with advancing veterans homelessness as well. So I wonder if you could speak about it and your priorities.
Great. And first of all, thank you for being here, man. And we appreciate your support, Tom.
Yeah, so veterans homelessness is actually one of the things that we've seen a pretty decent amount of progress. You'll notice that from one year to the next, the numbers went from something like 130,000 to 75,000. Really, mostly that's because we figured out how to count people better. But there actually has been some progress in terms of finding temporary housing, changing regulations, but there's still a lot we need to do. We need to make sure that we figure out how to get veterans into temporary housing so that they can do things like dry out if they're suffering from substance abuse. One of the problems is you can't have access to a VA homeless shelter unless you've been sober for 30 days. But how are you going to get sober unless you have a place and a supportive environment to do it? So this has been one of the major problems that have caused guys to kind of go in and out this revolving door through the VA system. Another huge problem with VA homelessness is the access for females. 60% of VA homeless shelters don't have childcare and aren't really built for women. This is a huge problem, and so what happens is that women are going into the civilian population, but they don't have access to the care and services that a veterans homeless shelter does in terms of access to care for combat-related injuries. And women tend to be homeless with children more than men. And the VA was not set up for that. They still have not addressed that problem. It's something that we have to fix very soon, because as the female population doubles in the VA system, which is looking to double in the next 10 years, this is going to become a growing problem and is going to be the biggest barrier to ending veteran homelessness in the next decade.
I think that's a great issue to also focus on the other options that exist for community-based nonprofits, for local mayors, for governors. We really view this document as something that's accessible for folks far beyond Washington. So I would encourage you to share it with folks throughout your state and in other states, because we think we've got to work together like spokes on a wheel. And we've seen some mayors be extremely aggressive around this issue specifically, and it's made a huge difference. Any other questions? Okay. We want to thank you all for being here. I just want to thank Zach again. I don't know if it's known, but maybe Indiana will do well in the tournament because you're here. And just want to thank all the veterans who are here today and everyone else. IAVA is committed to working with you to support our vets, not just this week, but throughout the year. Please come visit our office. Please come spend time with Tom. The folks on our DC team, would you stand up, please, and raise your hand? You see them around the room. These folks work full-time at the DC office. We don't just parachute in for 1 week a year. We're here every single day. And we're here to be a resource for you throughout the year and throughout the years to come. So please seek them out and please follow us online. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you very much.